Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So MUSD has been structurally underfunded for over 50 years because of how California's LCFF formula works. As a teacher who just got pink slipped, does it feel like this was inevitable or like something that could have been prevented?
Well, it was inevitable in the sense that I knew that teachers get pink slipped here. I wasn't shocked pink slipped. Is it preventable? I'm sure there's a lot of ways in which it's preventable. That the district talks about a fiscal cliff that they saw coming several years ago, and that we have now arrived at this fiscal cliff. This is where everything goes back. But if you saw it several years ago, the idea would be that instead of just increasing funding from MDEF, that you would actually put in work at the state level, to, address that funding to like reorganize this district, maybe.
Riker? You're so loud. You guys are all loud. Okay.
So we have to restart.
Let's run.
There.
I gotta get back to my
Okay.
grade.
Go.
You can cut through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so instead of just focusing on getting more funding from the Ed Foundation, the focus instead should be on restructuring the district to maybe include some Hermosa schools, some local schools, to increase the number of high-need students, because it's specifically on the basis of high-need students. We don't have as many of them because we're a small district. So
It's okay.
since we're a small district, we're just never going to meet the funding requirement. So steps should have been taken. Instead of keeping our district just exactly as it was and just waiting for disaster to strike and putting... All right.
Great. Cut 3.
Got it.
Okay. Do you want a new question?
No, instead of waiting for disaster to strike and just be like, oh, we have 55 kids in our classes, they should have done something
My hand hurt.
ahead of time to actually alleviate it from a structural point of view. Yes.
Okay. So the district cut a lot of positions
Yes.
this year and last year, and of course situations looking to improve, like taxes, the new like government planning that's coming into place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think district leadership had any real choice in making these cuts, or is this entirely a state funding based off of what you know?
I do think they had choice in how, well, it may be actually out of the district leaders' hands. Their hands may be tied by the community. I think that's probably a question for them. But there's definitely steps that could be taken to keep this from happening at a local level. Whether it's less electives, whether it's less of a focus on, sports complexes and things like that. Those steps could be taken at a local level. Who's specifically responsible for that? I don't really know.
Okay. California's LCFF also sends extra money to high-need districts, but leaves middle-income districts like MUSC with just the basic amount. Did you feel like the funding system was set up to fail? It's kind of like the other ones, but do you think it was set up to fail?
Originally the state was set up where the local property taxes funded your schools. So if you lived in a wealthy area, your schools had a lot of money. If you lived in a poorer area, your schools didn't have a lot of money. This perpetuated inequality, because if you lived in a lower income area, you're going to get a worse education. If you live in a better area, you're going to get a better education. You're going to be even wealthier than your parents, and the kids in the poorer area are going to continue to be poor, because education gives us opportunity.
Yes.
So it was a good thing that we made it so that basically every single school district gets the same base amount of money, right? Every single school district gets the same base amount of money all across the state. However, there's add-ons that have just become like expected parts of school budgets, which are the high need kids. It's having a lot of like recent immigrant kids, people that are not that don't fit the mold of the just kind of basic average middle class student, and that's raised funding for districts like LA Unified among others. So I think it's a good thing that we have like equally distributed property taxes, but there's the incentives that are there with the high needs thing, I think, skews the system against schools in wealthier areas. And people will be like, oh, well, it's just a wealthier area, like, get over it, you're wealthy. Well, us teachers that work at the wealthy schools are not wealthy, right? So it ends up hurting specifically teachers. It doesn't hurt the wealthy families as much as it hurts lower middle class teachers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. MBEF raises millions every year through community donations to help fill the funding gap. Does it feel right to you that teacher job security depends partly on whether enough people in Manhattan Beach choose to donate?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if it's like a right or wrong answer. I feel like I'm looking at surfboard shaping right here, like across the way. To have a school that has surfboard shaping and cool classes like that, you do need to have local parents funding that. I think ideally it should be though that core subjects like English, science, math, and history are funded by state funds, and that stuff is earmarked and it can't be touched. And then the parents come in and they fund. You want a new gym, you want to resurface the pool, you want to have a cool elective. The parents come in and fund that. I feel like that would be the most appropriate use of funding.
Yeah. Okay. The Trump administration withheld over $6 billion in federal education grants in 2025. Did you notice any direct impact of those federal cuts on our school before you received the pink slip and even like after?
I know that it impacted specifically, I was previously in Lenox School District, which was a higher need school district, lower income. They were directly impacted by those budget cuts, even more so than us. I think a lot of those hits went to some of the higher need schools. Some of the extra programs that were there, for special ed kids or for recent immigrant kids were slashed under those Trump cuts. I don't think we received federal reductions here at Costa, as far as I'm aware. I think it impacted more disproportionately lower income schools, which is not great.
Yeah. And then if you could sit in front of a state legislator right now, what would you want them to understand about what it actually feels like to be a teacher, losing your job because of a funding formula decision made in Sacramento?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think they would know where I'm coming from. I think any adult that has responsibilities, that has people that they care about, that wants to build their future, knows what it feels like to have that future threatened by potentially not having income. So I think they could empathize with that position, and they should know that there's a perception that teachers are get off easy and we have our summers off and it's like this cushy job, but we work incredibly hard in the 9 months a year that we work, late hours that aren't even part of our contracts, working late into the night, doing lesson plans, and we pour out our heart for the next generation so that these kids can grow up and be the people that our state and our nation needs. So I think that there should be that teaching should be valued for what it's doing, and I don't think it's valued in this country the way it is, in Europe, for example, where you're seen on the same level as a doctor or a lawyer.
Perfect. That was it.
Yay! Thank you.